One brief thing, NRTC-wise, we hosted a electric telco partnership summit back in February with NTCA and a couple other organizations. And if you've ever been to DC in February, it's not a great place to be. It's usually pretty gray and cold. We were hoping to maybe get 25 or 30 people at that meeting who would be part of an informal discussion about electric and telco partnerships, and we had over 100 members. And I think it reminded us and really hit home for us how much our electric and telephone members are looking to expand their business, find new opportunities through partnerships. And one of the phrases I've heard a lot over the last day and a half is scale. And for many of you in the room, you've done a lot of great things in your core telephone service area. How do you go beyond that to get the scale that you need to compete with the people that you're competing with locally and in your area? So partnerships is a great way to do it from the standpoint of sharing costs, sharing risk, and all those things.
There's just a lot of shared mission. And the mission is to serve rural America, and it's something I think both sides are really passionate about, and they just want to make it happen. And so I think that's a good starting point for building relationships. I think we both see the same risk for population decline as people leave rural America, particularly if they can't get good services, they're going to leave a little bit quicker. Building in low density areas is something we're both very experienced with, and how expensive it is, as well as one of the positives is there's often relatively little competition. So that's a good thing for both sides. Both have experience doing aerial deployment of fiber, so that helps. I think there's some ways to partner on the aerial part, potentially. I think, at least in our area, it's mostly an older demographic in the rural areas, so that presents some challenges, especially when you're trying to convince somebody why they need gigabit fiber. And most relevant to us is, our service areas often overlap. So to the extent that we can partner with an electric company that's near us, we're also essentially building fiber out to our own customers.
But it became very obvious if we were going to grow the company in a high rural remote valley that we had to either be completely in control of a very small picture or be willing to partner and give up some control and be in a much bigger enterprise. And so in doing that, we worked with our local REA and placed a joint fiber project to Jackson, Wyoming from Star Valley, Wyoming in 1993. And we'll come back to that one because that was really significant because that was the launch of our first real partnership effort. This was our first joint venture with Lower Valley Energy. It actually is pretty much just like it appears. This is the mountains of western Wyoming. Just off of the slide to the north is Grand Teton, and Jackson is right. The yellow line is our fiber line, and it's noteworthy, as I mentioned, because it took a lot of negotiation. And I guess as I was preparing for this presentation, I'd never really thought of it like this. But it was a pretty bold move because this is a high voltage transmission line. So your choice, we were limited to analog microwave for our toll outlet at the time. And so it was a necessity, and in trying to partner with US West to place fiber, they basically said, yeah, not interested. And so we were in control of our own destiny, and so we had to go out and work with the power company. So necessity created the partnership. We could either plow through the national forest over 11,000 foot peaks. We could plow 300 miles around the mountains, or we could go through the Snake River Canyon, a registered scenic and wild corridor that had, of course, what would you guess? The most prolific bald eagle nesting ground in the lower 48. One of the largest elk migration routes in Wyoming, and a protected historical venue for a number of areas. So not to be faint at heart, we approached the electric cooperative so that they could go to SCADA, supervisory control and data acquisition. They could begin doing substation control. And fortunately, they saw the vision. I think a lot of you know back in the 92, 93 timeframe, if you were ever around any of the NRECA meetings, they were also really prompting electric cooperatives to get into the telecommunications business as well. So it was the entry of what I will call co-opetition, cooperation, and incenting your competitor at the same time. So it worked out very well for us, although it was for an engineering kind of geek like me, it was really interesting because we couldn't begin placing the fiber. It was an OPGW, an optical ground wire. So it was a concentrically wound neutral with fiber in the middle of the neutral, which is on the top of the high line for a transmission line. And so we couldn't begin construction until after all of the eaglets had left the nest. So we couldn't begin construction until after June 15th. And of course, elk calving grounds and migration routes begin in August. So we couldn't begin construction until June 15th, and we had to cease construction by August 15th. So we had about a 2-month window. 100% of this was placed by helicopter. And so in 1993, that was a pretty bold project for us, but it really started our partnership off, and really a long, successful partnership with Lower Valley Energy.